What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another review from Monday Night Raw. This one is from April the 8th, 1996. We start off the show with Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji, who comes out with an American flag. I don't know what's a bigger heel. Someone claiming their homeland is better than any other, or someone claiming a new flag and turning their back on their original homeland. I would say that the second option would be the bigger heel move, but that's just my opinion. We have Yokozuna versus Vader, a match I think is too big for TV, no pun intended. Surprised that they didn't save this match for a pay per view. Both guys take turns exchanging punches, and Yokozuna ends it by hitting a Samoan drop. Cornette, also in the corner of Vader, gets involved, but Yokozuna able to hit a Uranagi and a leg drop. Yokozuna doing more in this one match than his entire run while WWF champion. Vader moves out of a splash in the corner, and while Yokozuna was down, Cornette held down one of his legs, and Vader, I guess you can say he splashed on it. Moral of the story, Vader's fat ass landed on Yokozuna's legs, immediately ending the match as you can hear Yokozuna screaming in pain. Vader hits more splashes onto the leg as we see Yokozuna possibly selling an injury to continue to push Vader as this monster. Some EMS personnel come out to help him, but they end up needing a forklift to carry Yokozuna to the back. Vader, though, is happy at what he did, since now catering will be full every time that he arrives to the arena. No offense. Next up, we have Vince McMahon introducing the returning Ultimate Warrior. I couldn't tell 100%, but it sounded like the cheers were piped in. The venue did not look big enough for how loud it was. Vince asks Warrior where he has been. Warrior states that for a man to truly find himself, he must go deep into his mind, and that in the 3 years of his absence, the voice of the fans spoke to him, and they are the reason he is back. The Warrior begins to talk about the new generation, and as he's talking, Goldust and Marlena come out. Goldust gets in the ring and asks Warrior to play some games as he quotes the movie The Warriors, 1979. Couple things to unpack really quick. The Warrior drops an S bomb, which is bleeped, but that's got to be the first time that this happens on WWE TV. I wonder if Vince knew that this was going to happen. Knowing who the Ultimate Warrior is, anything is possible. The other thing is that when Goldust, Vince, and the Warrior are all standing next to each other, surprisingly, Warrior is not as big as you would think he is, at least height wise. But who gives a shit, as the Warrior puts it. Goldust tries to touch on the Warrior, but he's not having any of it, and tells Goldust that if he's looking for a full-length, action-packed adventure, he's got a full-length ass-kicking coming to him, and beats down Goldust and sends him running away. Not gonna lie, this could have been the return before WrestleMania, and that would have been better than not having him appear at all. They do say that Goldust and the Warrior will have a match for the Intercontinental Championship at the next In Your House, so we'll see how that goes. Will the Warrior even make it that far? Next, we have Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Duke Droese. The Dumpster has been feuding with Hunter since I can remember. Last time we seen these guys, Hunter had cut Duke's hair and they had a match on pay per view. I couldn't remember that outcome if you gave me 100 tries. And in wrestling, there's only three possible outcomes that really could have happened. But, anyways, Duke gets the upper hand at the start of the match, but Hunter takes control before commercial. However, Duke gets a comeback going, hits two spine busters, even though one of them Vince says was a power slam. I guess I'll take his word for it. Hunter, though, able to reverse another maneuver and hits the pedigree for the win. Gonna take some real work to build him back up after squashing him at WrestleMania. He's in a feud with Mark Merrill, a new talent, so who knows who they are planning to give the win in that feud. And we see Yokozuna in the back getting put in an ambulance. Vader had also attacked him backstage to make sure that he was down and out for good. Mr. Perfect on commentary says that it might be the last time we see Yokozuna in the WWF. Just leave it to Vince to kill a wrestler so soon after getting over as a babyface. Or if Yokozuna does come back, he'll get completely changed from where he was in this short period of time where I was actually getting behind him. Then we have an arm wrestling contest between British Bulldog and Ahmed Johnson. Owen Hart keeps pausing it to make sure that Ahmed is not cheating. The referee throws him out after interrupting one too many times. They do finally end up starting the arm wrestling match, and Johnson ends up getting the win. Like Owen said, I think all that oil on Ahmed helped him get the leverage. Bulldog isn't going to take any of this, so he attacks Ahmed Johnson. He sets up a table in the corner. He Irish whips him into it, but the table doesn't break. That was probably the plan, because then Bulldog tries it again, but the table again doesn't give. So then Davey Boy just slams the table on top of Johnson, and he stomps on top of it. His wife Diana in the crowd doesn't show any sign of worry in her husband turning into a psycho. If anything, she was probably excited to go to the back later that night. It was a stupid segment having the arm wrestling contest, but at least they ended it with a beatdown. Probably leading into a match between these two at the next pay per view or maybe a tag match. Diesel comes out to the commentary because next up we have Shawn Michaels taking on Jerry the King Lawler. Even though Diesel is now a bad guy, no offense to Razor Ramon, he has a Shawn Michaels shirt on. He also brings up that it took Shawn 8 years to win the WWF title, but it only took him 2. Makes a good point. That's what makes a good heel, when they have good points, but they're being a prick about it. First parts of the match, Shawn takes some time to make a fool out of the King. Brings a smile to my face anytime we see Jerry getting made to look like a complete dumbass. On commentary, take a listen to how Diesel defends himself after putting a chair to Shawn's back a couple weeks ago.
That's the whole thing. I get blamed as a bad guy every time something goes on around here.
I know the feeling.
I'm out in the ring. Shawn Michaels turns to me, says, "Hey, I got a couple of vertebrae out. Do you mind putting them in with that chair?" He turns his back, I whack him. All of a sudden, I'm a bad guy.
You know, I knew there was some small talk going. I knew it.
Yeah, I'm the bad guy all of a sudden. So he set me up.
I hate to admit it again because I've talked shit about how cringe he's been at cutting promos, but Diesel is pretty funny when he's not being a company kiss ass for Vince. After a distraction, Jerry hits a pile driver on Shawn for a near fall. Shawn doesn't stay down for long. He nails a power slam and then his elbow from the top rope. He starts looking toward Diesel and turns his back to Jerry. And as the King approaches, Shawn turns around and hits the sweet chin music for the win. Diesel and Shawn have a face-to-face after the match, but instead of it staying as a face-off, they get into it and start brawling in the ring. Mr. Perfect comes to distract Shawn and helps Diesel by throwing him the WWF belt, and Shawn gets nailed in the head with it. Diesel just walks off like nothing, puts his shades and watch back on, and walks to the back. Without a care in the world after taking out his former best friend. You know, some people probably not behind Shawn as WWF champion and will be rooting for Diesel. Only time will tell, but Shawn might not have a majority of the crowd behind him for this one. So that does it for the episode. I'm going to give this a good grade. Sometimes these shows just have a good pace to them, and this one was just that. Nothing felt like it dragged out. I wouldn't say there was a great match or segment that blew my mind to kind of get this to a good episode, but I think everything as a whole just flowed nicely. There probably was one too many beatdown segments, but it's wrestling. That would be like complaining about an action movie having too many explosions. So yeah, as we get closer to the next In Your House, Diesel and Shawn have my attention. Warrior and Goldust has a potential of being okay, just based on the interactions that can happen in the match. I don't think the match itself is going to be a technical masterpiece or anything, but just the shenanigans that they can come up with in that match, I think might be entertaining. If the Piper and Goldust brawl at WrestleMania was anything to go off, I think the Goldust character will be just fine if they create the right amount of animosity between him and his opponent. So, with all that being said, remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already, or Duke the Dumpster will not pick up your garbage on trash day.